In this video, I would like to talk about language fossilization and language learning plateau. So in this video, firstly, I'm going to talk about language fossilization, what is the terminology, and then afterwards, I will talk about language learning plateau. And lastly, I will share with you my own thoughts and some kind of comments to deal with these two language learning problems. So today's first terminology is language fossilization. This terminology is quite common in language learning and second language acquisition field, coined by an American linguist, Larry Selinker. So language fossilization, Selinker claims that according to the language fossilization, it's some kind of circumstance or situation or process, not process, but situation, where after you study the target language, you are in the period where you cannot correct or furthermore improve your language. For example, pronunciation or grammatical errors, and etc., etc. And according to Selinker, there are several factors regarding this language fossilization, but the first, I will share with you the two main factors. The first one is language transfer. The first language that we speak actually does a huge or relative influence on the second language that we cannot kind of correct the errors, especially phonetics. For example, when I speak, I'm a Japanese native speaker. So when I speak English, maybe you hear my Japanese accents. I don't sound like a native, right? So one factor is the influence done by the first language that we speak. And also the second factor can be grammatical rules overgeneralization. For example, this is kind of extreme example, but when we say in English, in the process of learning, if we memorize grammatical rules or spellings, for example, in the wrong way, and you keep using that in the wrong way, your brain thinks that that's the correct form, and after that you cannot kind of, it becomes a part of yours and you cannot correct it. For example, this is an extreme example, but when we say I eat an apple, grammatically correct, and if you want to say that in the past tense, since the verb eat is irregular form in a conjugation, so it's ate, right? I ate an apple. But if you overgeneralize the grammatical rule, since we need to add ed after the verb, so some people might say we eated an apple, not we ate an apple, right? So this is the extreme example of overgeneralization, which causes language fossilization in a morphosyntax in a grammatical context. So this is several examples of language fossilization. Your mistakes are so solid, like a fossil, that you cannot correct or improve anymore. This is the some kind of a situation of the language fossilization. And secondly, the language learning plateau. This is a quite, I would say, quite a common terminology among language learning community, especially those who learn a lot of languages or polyglots and stuff. I personally don't know who actually coined this terminology, but I personally face this problem all the time when learning different languages. So language learning plateau means that you are in a, this is some kind of metaphor. You are in a plateau and you cannot go climb up anymore. So this is some kind of a situation or period, especially after you reach a intermediate or advanced level at the target language. You feel like you don't get any, you don't feel level up furthermore after intermediate or advanced levels. For example, in my English, I've been learning English for 20 years or something, but I do speak English to a certain degree, but I feel like the amount of vocabularies and the usage of the grammatical rules are not improved anymore recently. So this is, you are like in a plateau. You keep going, but you feel like you don't know where you are going, and also you don't feel like you are going up, like leveling up anymore. So this is some kind of circumstance or situation you are in when you are having a language learning plateau program. So in this, so far, I've explained what these two terminologies are: language fossilizations and also language learning plateaus. But what can we do when we face these problems, right? When we faces these issues? Personally, I face these problems all the time. And as for language fossilization, all we can do is sometimes, all I do at least is sometimes, for example, English, not English recently, I'm sorry, but for example, Russian or French or Spanish that I use once a week to just talk to my friends. I think they are like fossilized at this moment, but sometimes I give myself such a period where I can spend time to revise the grammatical basis of the grammatical rules or vocabularies. For example, if I want to kind of use French more and kind of improve the level of French, I think I would grab my grammar book of French, and I will read the grammatical rules from the scratch to revise the foundation of the language. And I think during the process, there would be a lot of moments where I would notice that, this part I have been using this grammatical rules in a wrong way, and I have to kind of consciously need to practice and correct the mistakes or something. So for the language fossilizations, consistent or periodical revising of the language is one of the solution for this problem. And as for language learning plateau, I am feeling this problem all the time actually. And what I do, like when you're when you're trapped or I don't feel like I'm going farther or something, but when I feel the problem, when I feel that I'm facing the problem, there are two things that I do. First, I'm gonna take a break for around 1 week. Just taking one year is too much, and I think I will forget the language totally. So I don't want to do that. But I think in that case, I will just take a break for 1 week, no touch with the language completely, and after 1 week, I will just go back to learning the language, so that my brain also refreshed from the past and be ready for learning new things. And also, what I do is, this is kind of very it's a very normal thing, but I just keep learning the language no matter what. No matter how much I feel that I am in the plateau. Studying the language in a routine way. For example, I read news in French every day, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something, and just kind of I get my brain got used to using the language. And if you just keep learning the language, if you just keep going, sometime or somewhere, we might be able to see a mountain or other views or something, right? With that hope. So again, so what I do, to summarize, what I do is taking a break for 1 week or so, or just continue learning the language, constantly learning the language to get out of the language learning plateau. So this is what I do. But what do you guys do when you face these problems, language fossilizations and language learning plateau? What do you do? If you have any solutions, or if you can share your ways to get out of these problems, please share with me in the commentary. And today is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. またね。